Hi, and welcome to our first episode of AuthenticiTEA, a platform we're using to have authentic conversations about mental health. My name is Megan Miesler, and I'm the Executive Director at Leeson Counseling Services. Leeson Counseling Services is a counseling agency in Orlando, Florida, and then we are working to create safe places for people to share their story. So, in the midst of this crisis, we are also entering Mental Health Awareness Month. So I had this crazy idea that we would do some live mental health check-ins and try to just normalize talking about the good and the bad and how we're feeling and how we're dealing with this. So I have lots of people scheduled to come on, but my first guinea pig is Jason Zhender. He's my good friend down in Fort Myers. So Jason, can you just tell me why you said yes to coming on?
Absolutely. Well, number one, it's because you are my friend in Orlando. That's one of the reasons. But the other reason is, really and truly, I think it is very important to have real and authentic conversations about, first of all, mental health, and second of all, about how everything that's happening right now is affecting people and affecting things like, as a school teacher, school looks a lot different this year since March than we are used to, than really anyone is used to.
Yeah, and it definitely affects how we're feeling and everything just going on inside of us. So tell us a little bit about what you teach, who you are, like what you do on a daily basis.
All right. My name is Jason Zhender. Yes, of those Zhenders, the Frankenmuth Zhenders. And I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade history, American and world. And I also teach 8th grade traditional literature. So all the great stuff, the Beowulf and, Shakespeare, all the ones that people like, those are my favorites. So I get a chance to try to inspire kids to not hate really old literature.
Okay.
And
you wouldn't be my favorite teacher. I'm sorry.
Oh, I would be. You see, you don't know.
Okay.
I have been blessed to really kind of be in the advanced guard technologically, and so made the early switch to Google Classroom 6-7 years ago now. Had a flipped classroom that had a lot of digital components 6-7 years ago. So I went into this in March thinking, easy peasy lemon squeezy. This is going to be nothing. All my coworkers may have trouble with this, but for me, this is a Tuesday.
You'll be fine. Yeah.
And the irony of that was that because I was more prepared than everyone at my site, and we are pre-K, well, we're actually infant through 8th grade. And so we were doing e-learning for pre-K through 8th grade, and we're double classrooms the whole way up. I was really the only person doing heavily digital-based learning. So, I mean, everyone used Google Classroom in the middle school, but that was it. Nobody in the elementary school. And I was the only one who, had like lecture components that were online and things of that nature, and did all my testing through Google Classroom. So when this all happened, while I thought I was good to go, that meant that all my coworkers needed a lot of help. And so there have been a lot of kind of Zoom video walkthroughs on how to do things, and some wonderful YouTube videos that I've had to make for tech challenges faced by a lot of people. And so unexpectedly, I'm teaching my teachers and my students, and a lot of parents that used to kind of be hands-off are now a lot more hands-on. So it's actually been a lot more hours in the day. And so 12-hour days are the norm, and sometimes a couple more hours than that.
Yeah. So how many videos do you think you've made?
For tech support, probably a dozen, maybe 2. That doesn't count the Zoom calls, or the text messages or emails or things like that. And then, of course, on any given day, I teach 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and the literature class. So 4 videos a day for each of those. So.
Oh my goodness. That probably wasn't ever in your job description that you would be like a Zoom teacher or a YouTube star on history or anything.
No, yeah. Much like my other social media, as we joked about before we went live,
Yes.
I use my Instagram like twice a year. My Facebook, I think, has been dormant for like 5 years.
It has.
So I had a YouTube that I would use to, like, hey guys, watch this little clip about history. Da, 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 da. But I had never like posted anything. And now it's like all this content, and morning devotions every single day that I do for my homeroom class. We still do our morning devotion. So
that is
it's,
awesome.
3 minutes of my mug in the morning that they get to look at. Hey guys, how you doing today? So
have you Googled your name yet? I bet you have like so many videos under your name if we Googled Jason Zhender.
You probably do. This is going to be great because my Google doppelganger is actually a race car driver in Kentucky, Jason Zhender. No joke.
Really?
So when people would Google
awesome.
me before, he was the famous Jason Zhender. So maybe I'm catching up.
Hey, you might
He's
catch
going to be
up with
looking
him,
in the
man.
rear view, and I'm going to be passing. It's going to be great.
Well, Jason, tell me a little bit about like what your connection has been with Lutheran Counseling Services. Obviously, you and I know each other from a ways back. I don't even remember when we met.
Yeah.
But yeah, tell us a little bit about your connection to LCS.
Well, I actually have a connection that even predates our connection. When I transitioned, when I graduated from high school and moved up to Orlando, I grew up in a really small community in Minnesota before my dad is a pastor, and he accepted a call to Fort Myers, Florida, when I was in middle school. And before that, I was in a one-room schoolhouse. There were like 20 kids in my school, not in my class.
Wow.
And a total of there's like 50 to 70 people in the town total.
Oh my goodness.
So it was a big jump to Fort Myers, but then I was in a Lutheran school. And so there were, 25 kids in my class, and they hadn't doubled grades yet. I actually do teach at the school that I attended then.
You do, don't you? That's awesome. It's like a comeback.
Yeah, coming back around. We actually have a couple teachers on staff who were once elementary or middle school students there. And
awesome.
When I made the jump to high school, I did go to public high school, and it was around 1,200 students when I was there. So that was a big jump for me. But then I went from there to the University of Central Florida, which is usually in like the top 1, 2, or 3 in terms of enrollment at a university in the country. And that was a really tough transition for me. And I did not realize that I would miss family as much as I did. I was one of 2 or 3 students from my high school that went to UCF. And so I ended up
go nice.
That's right. Reverend Dr. UCF, go Knights. I went to see the Reverend Dr. Armstrong at Lutheran Counseling Services to kind of help ease my transition into college, because I was dealing with a lot of anxiety and stress.
Oh, I didn't know that about you, which I shouldn't.
So
clearly,
that was my first experience with Lutheran Counseling Services.
That is awesome. So what was helpful about it? Like, I think it's important to know, like, how did that whole piece help you transition?
Absolutely.
Easier, or did it?
Well,
I don't know.
It did. It did. One of the biggest problems for me is, in terms of overall stress, I had a fantastic family life. There are stresses that go with being part of a ministry family, of course. In terms of having a dad as a pastor, I know you know. There
can totally relate, man.
that come with that. But I didn't develop coping strategies that didn't involve my family. And because family is so important, we're Scottish, Irish, German, very close knit culturally. We're Sunday brunch people. We are hug people, kiss on the cheek people. And so for me, that was, I picked UCF, and I'm like, hey, it's like 4 hours away. That's close. but it's really not.
It's not.
And
No, when
it
you're
wasn't
right,
close
it's
enough
not.
to having a bad day run home. So it was very difficult because the coping strategies that I had in place, some were faith-based, some were, family-based, but even my faith-based ones kind of revolved around, I'm going to go here, I'm going to see these people, and those people weren't as available to me. And of course now we have Zoom and all these things, but like face-to-face
more
telecommunications
technology.
in like the late
Yeah.
90s, early 2000s, it existed, but only just. And so that was a tough transition. And the biggest benefit to me, I would say, from Lutheran Counseling Services was, first of all, being able to talk to someone and having someone who was a receptive ear. And then the other thing that was just huge was learning some coping strategies that were healthy coping strategies, and also that normalization is huge. Kind of, you think that you're the only one, even though that logically that doesn't make any sense. You're on a campus with tens of thousands of people. Surely someone else is a little homesick and feeling a little anxious about the change. But that wasn't how I felt at the time. It was very isolating, and you feel like you're the only one. And so to have that normalized and have, the professional who's saying, no, what you're feeling it's not unusual. I just want to be normal, like everybody else. Normal is just a setting on a washer. It's not a real thing,
On a washer. I've never heard that. Normal is just a setting on a washer. That is great.
It is. I do believe, in fact, your father told me that. So
really? Oh,
at some point,
we can quote Rick Armstrong. Normal is a setting on a washing machine.
Exactly.
I appreciate you saying, those things. And I think we talk about it in counseling all the time is we think that we're the only ones. Like you and I are PKs, pastors' kids. And there are definitely things that pastors' kids go through. And we think we're the only ones going through it. And it's just not true. Or like that transition from high school to college, like there are normal steps in our life where we go through things and we feel abnormal. But like you said, that is such a normal thing to feel. And we need people to tell us that, is my belief.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about what life looks like right now in this last couple of months as we've transitioned. You shared that you're a school teacher and you're now a YouTube star. But what does your day-to-day look like?
Well, we're actually, my family is very blessed. This year, very, very fortuitously, my wife decided that she would really like to try to be a stay-at-home mom, and we looked at our finances, and it was going to be close, but we decided that it was a very prayerfully made decision. And so at the end of last year, she also was in education and with a mental health background. We stepped out in faith and said, all right, God, we're going to trust you that we can make this work. And she has been a stay-at-home mom all year. And it's really funny. The past couple of weeks, she's like, when I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom,
you weren't involved in
what
this.
I signed up for.
Yeah, right.
So we do have 3 kids. Our kids are in 2nd grade, in kindergarten, and in pre-K. And so she right now, her day is she is the mommy teacher all day for 3 different age levels, and it's interesting. An unexpected blessing. I did mention I'm usually working about 12 or a little bit more hours a day, but I have the opportunity that I didn't before, which is I get to eat breakfast with my family. I get to eat lunch with my family, and I get to eat dinner, which
that is a blessing.
Together, we are very much a gather around the table kind of family for dinner. But now we've had the opportunity to do that for breakfast and lunch as well. So
perfect. I love that. That is, and I think it's important that we call out the blessings, right? Because it can be so easy to be like, this stinks. But to be home with your family in some right is not beautiful. But being able to eat meals together is definitely a blessing for sure.
Absolutely. And I do, there is the counterpoint to that, which is sheltering in place kind of, it's a lot of family. It's
It's a lot of family. What in the
yeah,
world?
it's a lot of family, and you start to go, if we had another wing or three on the house,
Right.
we could say, go to your wing, go
Right.
reside in the East Wing. We will see you tomorrow. But
And if we soundproof the room, I wouldn't have to hear
exactly.
you.
So that is a blessing. Sometimes it's an overwhelming blessing, but we do have that family time that we would not have even had during a normal school year. So that's great. I don't see them during my day other than that.
Okay.
I do get to
You
have
don't?
breakfast, lunch, and dinner with them, but I am cloistered in the library that you see behind
The library,
me.
yeah. Okay, good. Do they interrupt you?
Yeah, this is my mobile classroom away from classroom now. So that's kind of what's up. And if anyone is really out of sorts, then they're told, go to the library.
Ooh. So you're the enforcer
No,
in the library.
So, not normally. No, not.
Okay.
I am not the enforcer, but it is kind of a banishment now. You can be banished to the library.
That's awesome.
There's no fun books in here. All the kid books are in the different bedrooms. So
It's all the serious stuff.
This
in
is
there.
like, yeah, there's not a lot of pictures in these books. So.
Aw. Well, that's good. I'm glad you're finding some blessings in this time. What are you doing to take care of yourself?
Well, earlier this week, I actually, I know that many teachers will probably agree with this. People say, "Oh, how do you teach middle school? That'd be so stressful." The kids are not the big stress usually. It tends to be parents, and so the number of emails I receive from parents cannot be overstated.
Daily,
How much that has grown. So in the span of 3 hours the other day, I got 46. So
oh my gosh,
it's a lot. And Monday was a rough one because we had our mid-quarter reports come out.
Ooh.
And so how am I taking care of myself? Well, on Monday, even though I kind of constantly feel pressed for time now, I had to stop. And I set the timer on my watch and I said, for the next 15 minutes, I'm doing nothing.
Good for you.
And so got up out of the chair, went and found a comfortable place to sit down, had my tea, and for the next 15 minutes, just kind of focused on relaxing.
Woosah, right?
Absolutely. Great. Biofeedback. Concentrate on that breathing. Bring down that heart rate. Don't worry about that other stuff. And in the midst of that, you believe there was some prayer.
I bet. I think it's so often we forget we have a timer on our phone. Like we could use it for so many things to, sometimes I'm like, I'm going to just work for 10 more minutes and I set the 10-minute timer and when it goes off, I'm done. Or I walk away for an hour and when it goes off, I come back. So the power of the timer or the alarms on our phone, I think are very important for sure.
Yeah. And as I mentioned, my wife is from a mental health background as well. And so she will occasionally kind of, and she goes, you just have to let this go. As far as you are right now, it's late enough that you just need to stop. And if that means you need to wake up early, that's fine.
And that's what we'll do. Right.
But you need to stop because you need to rest and you need to take care of you and you need to eat. And she, reminds me to do things that otherwise I'll forget. You need to stand up. You can't sit in your chair for the next 6
all
hours.
Day. I think it's been challenging for people like working at home. You could literally work 24/7. Like you could literally roll out of bed and work and work until you fall
Absolutely.
asleep.
Yeah, it's disrupted a lot of people's like life work balance, that family work balance and everything like that, which is already difficult for a lot of people. And this has really just thrown that out the window for so many.
Yeah, even for kids too, I think. Like it could be so easy for kids to just keep working on their things and not like take a break. And so being intentional about that is important. So besides the email, any like really challenging things that have gone on? Anything that's really been like, oh, I can't take this any longer?
Not for me personally, but for students, this is a
Mm-hmm.
huge upheaval for them. Of
Yeah.
course, we do have students whose parents are in the healthcare industry, and so that's an additional stress and anxiety for them. And even things that we have a student that lives in a very rural part of our county and is kind of used to social isolation, and so that isn't
Right.
the issue, but happens to be a germaphobe, and so
Oh.
his stress level is huge right now, and he, as much as you can say, look, buddy, you live in the middle of nowhere, you don't see
There's
anyone
no germs over
anyway,
there.
are
Yeah.
irrational at their so it, it's I am not a fan of spiders. The fact that I am aware that a man of my size has nothing to fear from a tiny insect, a tiny arachnid,
Right.
it doesn't matter to me.
I hear ya.
So at their core, it's that thing where you go, okay, well, rationally, I accept that the spider is not a danger to me, but in my irrational fear, yeah, they're creepy. They got too many legs. So,
I think at this time, like our fears and anxieties are heightened. Like whatever it was that would stress us out before, it is stressing us out 10 times more now because we just don't have, like you said, like the people
yeah,
around us to help calm us down. And so those coping skills are so, so important for sure. All right, I
absolutely.
told you could ask me some questions. Did you have anything for me?
Oh, oh my goodness. Well, I would like to know, what are some coping strategies that you are using so that I might swipe them?
So you might swipe them? Okay. Well, I don't know why, but like hot tea has become my new thing, especially at night. And it's like dessert tea. So this is a lemon loaf tea. It tastes so good. So I've been doing that. And for Christmas, my husband and I bought kayaks. So we have been out kayaking a lot, which is ironic because I'm deathly afraid of
Fantastic.
alligators. I hate alligators, and so I've probably seen like 10 in the last month. So yeah, it's just like been sunlight, which I recognize not everybody can do because they don't live in Florida like we do, and just being a little bit more active. But I do find myself just sitting and doing nothing sometimes, which is not, I don't know, not my regular routine.
Yeah. And I think that's another important thing. Like, this is hugely disruptive to people's routines, and people crave routines.
They
And
do.
so it's important to find a new routine.
Yeah.
For at least a little bit, this is still going to be our new normal. And so make a new routine that works. Find a way to make it work.
For sure. And I think it's important to know, like, it's going to look completely different probably when we come out of this. So new routines that you're setting for yourself could be great new habits to have. And then the other thing I've found, if I'm just being honest, because that's what we're supposed to be, is I got to limit the alcohol at night. Like, it could, like, when you don't have nothing to do, it's really easy to just, have a whole glass of wine or two. So I think watching those habits, right? Unhealthy habits that we have that are creeping up, I think we have to be completely aware of.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining me. How can I
My
pray
pleasure.
for you, support you? What are things that we could lift up in prayer for you? Do you have some things on your mind today?
I do. I really do. As an 8th grade homeroom teacher, one of the things that's kind of heavy on our hearts right now is at our school, and I don't know that this is the same everywhere, but I assume at least similarly, 8th grade graduation, promotion to high school is a huge deal on our campus. I mean, cap and gown diploma, the whole 9 yards.
Oh,
and
yeah.
This is devastating to them. And even things that aren't as focused on them, we do an 8th grade walkthrough at the end of the year. where they get to put on the shirt of the school that they're going to be going to. And then they
Oh,
walk the
cool.
hall like one last time, and they get to say goodbye to all the 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd grade, all the way down to the pre-K. And we have things like chapel buddies and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they know kids in the younger grades, and they interact with them
Yeah.
all the time on our campus. And it's really that the feedback from my students has been one of the things that they're most upset about, even potentially, I would say, more than graduation. And so if you could just kind of keep all of the students, but specifically those who are like 8th graders or 12th
Yeah.
graders, those who kindergarten graduation, that's the thing.
Kindergarten too. Don't forget about kindergartners.
Yeah. So those ones who are kind of missing that milestone.
Yeah.
This is going to be a tough end of year transition for all the kids because it doesn't have that sense of closure they're used to. But really,
Mm-hmm.
those ones that were kind of at those milestone closures, that's really tough. So,
And
if you
I know
guys
I've been hearing from
kind of keep
parents.
those kids in your thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah,
their parents, because
this is a
especially
lot.
those that are moving
A lot of
on,
loss.
right? It's a lot of loss. And I'm glad you brought that up. It's a lot of loss going on. And so we need to be able to embrace that. And just express it. Like you said before, like just normalize, yes, we are feeling sad, and it's okay to feel that way. For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that prayer request, and that is something we will definitely lift up
Thank
to
you,
God
thank
in
you.
prayer. I am so excited that you joined me. I just wanted to remind those watching that Lutheran Counseling Services is continuing to offer different resources, but one of ours is a call-in line. I hope you've heard about it, Jason, is that we have a free call-in line. You can talk to a therapist for up to 15 minutes for free. That's on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays by calling our office and hitting extension 5. So those that really need some support, we are trying to offer that for them. And so my last question to you is, what kind of tea are you drinking?
I am currently drinking London Fog by Harney Brothers, my favorite tea company. I highly recommend all of their teas. I tend to be a black tea drinker and an Earl Grey drinker, but this is rather fantastic as well. It's a black tea with hints of lavender.
Beautiful. And I'm drinking lemon loaf today with lots of honey in it because it is my favorite. Well, thank you so much, Jason, for joining me. Thanks
Thank you for having me.
watching. I appreciate it, and we'll continue to lift you up in our prayers. Thanks,
All right,
Jason.
thank you. Wonderful to see you.